up, everybody? Welcome to the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast. To check out our live shows, please go to our website, comedypopupla.com. On this episode, we have two amazing comics, Christina Walkinshaw and Jen Murphy. They're part of a new show on the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast Network called Jillin Off. So please check out their show on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to your podcast. All right, guys, let's start the show.
All right, guys, welcome to the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Antonio, and I'm joined by two amazing guests who just recorded their podcast here. It's brand new on the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast Network. It's called Jillin Off. We have Christina Walkinshaw and Jen Murphy.
Hey.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having us.
Do you like how I asked for all of your guys' credits and then I just didn't?
They're really not that exciting anyways.
I was like, all right, okay.
I thought maybe you had a plan to like sprinkle them in.
Right. Mine are all Canadian. Nobody have heard of any of those shows. Excepting maybe Just for Laughs. Oh, yeah, I did it. I dropped it. Oh, yeah, okay.
That's how I feel. So I use, and we'll get into I use the Ian Bag Show as like my credit. Like, so I use like, you've heard him on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
So whenever the host brings me up, like, you've heard him on Sirius XM, I just go, like, nobody here has heard me on Sirius XM. I was like, do you listen to Canada Laughs? I was like, that's the channel I was on. So, yeah.
I listen to Canada Laughs all the time.
Really?
Yes. My friend Ben Miner runs that channel in Canada, and he's the best.
Ben Miner.
I started comedy with him.
Really?
Yes.
He's a good dude. I still have him on Facebook after all these years.
Oh my God, yeah. I started in Ottawa in the late 90s, and yeah, he was part of my that's the crew that I came up with. It was like Ben Miner, John Doerr, Jen Grant, Casey Corbin, like lots of comics from Canada, obviously, but yeah, Ben Miner is awesome.
So you guys all started in Ottawa, right?
Yeah, I started.
And then you guys kind of spread out afterwards? Or?
Yeah, then I don't know, I guess a couple of us moved to LA. Some of us are still, actually a lot of that crew is still in Ottawa though, or Toronto.
Shout out to Ben Miner, who's probably stuck in a tiny studio.
Shout out to Ben Miner.
Do they play all the Ian Bag shows on
Canada? It was weird. So there was like a bunch of different channels. That was like Laugh Attack and then Canada Laughs, and I always use Laugh Attack because it sounds like some kind of compilation thing for stand-ups. It's like, you've heard him on Laugh Attack. They're like, his stand-up's been on Laugh Attack. I was like, no, I was the intern turned like co-host kind of towards the end of the Ian Bag Show, which was super sick. Which is how I met Jen, which is crazy because that was my first. So this is.
You were just a baby.
I was.
You couldn't
20?
even drink.
Yeah, I think I was 20 years old when I started.
Whoa!
And I messaged, I remember this was like the moment, right? So so whenever I would message the Ian Bag Show Twitter, I always knew it was you that I would like be talking to because you managed it. So we go back and forth. And then I had sent one earlier because I used to go to Ian shows all the time at the Bray Improv.
Yeah.
Because it was always a different show because he's a crowd work comic.
Yeah.
Right.
So one time I was there and I had sent a message earlier and I got a response. And when I got a response, you were on stage. So I was like, oh, I'm not talking to Jen. And I looked in the back and Ian was on his phone.
Oh, really?
So I was like, this is like my one I was like, I'm talking to Ian. So I was like, I messaged because I realized the intern hadn't been there for a while. So I messaged, hey, do you need an intern? And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, totally serious, blah, blah, blah. He's like, all right. So I sent a message to Brian Irwin, an email. And then like that week I was there at the Herald Examiner building on the Ian Bag Show.
That's so funny.
Met you guys and that was so much fun.
Ian Bag Show was fun.
Ian is so funny. Yeah, that could be a synchronized thing that just happens when everybody says that at the same thing at the same time.
So funny.
Yeah. So I didn't even know how to use a mixer when I went. Like literally they sat me in front of a mixer like this and they were like, all right, this is you. And I was like, really?
I thought the reason you came in is because you knew all the equipment.
I knew nothing. I was just interested. I was just like,
Speaking of knowing,
so funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of knowing about the equipment, doesn't matter that it says your disc is almost full.
no, we'll get through this.
Okay.
There's all these warning signs and stuff up on the laptop right now.
I know. That's something that I would expect to happen on my computer or any of my technologies, but
Yeah. No, I live life with a full hard
disk?
drive. Yeah.
my phone's always like
I
storage
live life
management
with a full
settings.
hard drive. Should be on a t-shirt.
Right. We're making logos. Yeah, I knew nothing about that. So when I sat down, they were like, here's the levels, blah, blah. They're like, just adjust this. And I was like, all right. And I remember like the first show I was doing it and then I laughed so hard that my headphones fell off and it hit the keyboard and it stopped the recording.
Oh my God.
So then I was like, luckily I had the wherewithal to be like, everybody stop. I was like, I just stopped the recording, blah, blah, blah. And we just continued and stuff. But
Yeah, Ian Bag was so good. The show should have been bigger.
yeah, it should have.
We always had trouble promoting that show.
I think that was, and it's funny because like he's taken off so much in terms of like marketing and stuff. But at that time, it was like,
Yeah, at that time it was tough.
yeah, that was the thing. It was like, how do you market the show? Do you have guests? And then, I mean, obviously went through the transformation, started recording it out of his apartment and stuff. But it went through a lot of different levels at the end. But it was fun. But Jen, so after Ian Bag Show, I learned kind of like audio stuff. I started the radio station in my college, and Jen was one of the first guests that came. And what was hilarious was, and I remember this vividly, she came to my house in Pomona, which is far,
Yeah,
like
we
out
did.
of LA.
In a motorhome.
In a motorhome. Yeah, we did record in a motorhome. And one time we had to record at the college campus in the library. So she came to my house and we all caravanned over there, and I had forgot the power wire for the mixer.
Oh, no.
So then I had to go drive all the way back home and then drive all the way back to the college. And I felt bad. I was like, we were just wasting Jen's time.
Oh, no.
It's okay. You were worth it.
Oh, thank you.
It all worked out in the end. Look at you now.
We're in, I like how the sheet on the wall is backwards. Like,
Still.
the guy who put it up is backwards, and I was just like, I'm gonna leave it like this.
It is pretty crazy that you would start as an intern and then I would, like 6 or 7 years later, be messaging you like, can I be on your network?
Yeah, she did. I was like, yeah.
It's weird.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was like,
cool.
I'm a co-owner of the Comedy Pop-Up Network.
Comes full circle.
And now I know. Now I'm the one signing the contracts. No, there's no contracts here.
He's the one that signs our checks every week.
Oh, yeah.
I sign my own checks, and they're for less than $4 an hour. But anyways, so the show that you guys have on the network, Jillin Off.
Yeah, I think I accidentally tricked Jen into doing a podcast about female masturbation.
So what was the pit? Well, how did you sell it to Jen?
Well, we already knew we wanted to do a podcast, and we were like, oh, we should talk about like what people say after sex, or like we're trying to do something that was like kind of sexual, but maybe had some sort of a different angle. And then I was like, we should call our podcast Jillin Off.
At first,
And she
it
was
was
like-
called, when I first submitted to you guys, it was called Right After Sex. Because we were going to talk about like all the weird, not all the weird stuff that can happen between two people, like either like literally right after they have sex
Yeah.
or in the next week, or you know what I mean?
Mhm.
There is a big awkward time.
We
after
didn't
you have
want
sex.
to like make it where the whole thing had to be like about sex, especially when we realized that neither one of us were really having it. So,
That's where I came up with Jillin Off. I was like, well, I'm not really having sex with anybody, but I am Jillin Off a lot.
but we kind of, the thing we have in common is that, I mean, I'm older than you, but we're both, she's just turned 40 and I'm in my 40s, I'll say.
Yeah.
And we're both extremely single, never been married, don't have kids. So we figured like there's got to be other women maybe that can relate, but we also didn't want to pigeonhole it into just one. But I feel like the name Jillin Off
It's catchy.
can mean so many things.
We could
Yeah.
just be like jacking off over the microphone. Like, we're just chilling off. We're just joshing around. We're just
Yeah.
Netflix and Jillin.
Yeah.
Sisters are doing it for themselves. Like, we're just doing our own thing.
It made you guys flexible, no pun intended. for that one.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We're Jillin Off.
You guys just started the show. Like it's just
Yeah.
brand new to the network. You guys just had your first guest,
This is
John Huck.
We did.
That was fun. That was fun.
It's very fun. I know he probably can't really Jill off himself, but
Yeah, I
He
think
was
we
a great
decided
guest.
we're going to do a guest every other week and then just us every other week and kind
yeah.
of
You know what? Either way, it's
mix
fine.
it up.
Mix
Or
it
whenever
up.
we can get a guest. I don't know.
Yeah, if somebody wants to be a guest, if somebody has a lot to say about Jillin Off, I would definitely invite them on the show. Be like, tell us your stories of Jillin Off. But we don't need a guest. We're also great friends, and sometimes we don't even have time in our week to spend together. So this is like me and Jen's time together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of sweet. We like this.
Plus, where else are you going to hear a story about Jillin Off in a car on the way back?
That's true. I have
Like-
chilled off in the car. I think my worst chilling off story is it's like a long time ago when I was a bartender in Toronto, and my boss's niece was coming to town, and he was like, I think my niece should stay at your house, Christina. I think you'd be more fun to hang out with than I would. And I was like, sure.
How old was the niece?
Probably like a few years younger than me.
Oh, okay.
And I was probably like, I don't know, late 20s or something, maybe early 30s. So I was like, yeah, man, that sounds like a good idea. And so my niece's like, I'll give you guys money to like go take her to the CN Tower, take her out for dinner and stuff like that. So I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Now I'm like, we have money, we can go out, we can have fun, we don't worry about anything. So she's staying in my apartment. I have a 1-bedroom in Toronto in the annex. And I'd heard the door shut. So I was like, okay, so she's gone. So she's like left for the day or whatever.
Uh-oh.
So then I start chilling, as you do when you got
Are
some
you
alone
like
time.
alone in your
Yeah.
room with the door shut, or is there a door open?
I'm alone in my door. I'm alone in my room, but my door doesn't shut properly. It's a very old apartment. And
Okay.
it's like one of those doors that doesn't really shut all the way. So it's mildly shut, but there's like a little
and you're
crack.
using a vibrator that makes noise.
Most of them do. This is why we have to get
I'm just setting up the scene.
dildos would be quieter, but dildos would require more work, which I'm not willing to do. So
Just sounds like a blender coming.
yeah. So I mean, I think at least I wasn't watching porn when I was doing it. But anyway, so I start chilling. So there's going to be that zzz, noise coming from my room.
That is so funny.
And then right after I'm done, I shut it down, and then I hear that pew 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 of somebody's like laptop shutting down. You know that old noise when you just like log off? We're like do do do, and then I was like, oh my god, she's still here.
oh my God.
And so she is in my kitchen. It was just like right beside my bedroom, and I was like, oh, I thought you had gone out, but she was actually in my kitchen, and she had just.
What was
come
her
home.
face like when you saw her? Did she
know
look
what?
like embarrassed to look at you? Or
I think
maybe-
it was something we only talked about like years later.
Oh, so you did talk about. She really did hear you.
I feel like she says she didn't hear
so
me,
embarrassing.
but I feel like the giggles tell me that maybe she did. But yeah, so she did. And actually,
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing.
yeah, it's fine. Anyways, we're still great friends. It's fine.
That's so scary. To
I know.
It's like it's such an intimate moment, but it's like
When you think you're alone, you take a moment to chill, and then wow, it turns out you're not alone.
There was one time when I was in community college. So I was 18 or 19. I didn't go for very long. In my class, and I still lived with my parents, and my class got canceled. So I came home. And when I walked in, I heard my mom go, honey, is that you? So I like opened her bedroom door, and she sprawled naked on the bed thinking it was my dad. And I was like, I turned around and bolted and went back out the front door and just didn't come back for a few hours.
how was that reaction?
It was horrifying.
When you came back, did you guys talk about it? Did you address it, or was
I
it
think
just
it's just
like
that thing where she just like was giggling, like, oh, and I was still mortified, so I wasn't giggling. I was just like, yeah, okay. I gotta move out.
Jesus Christ?
Oh my god! Anything sexual related to your parents is like that's the most terrifying. Like my dad's gonna be 69
so
next year,
terrifying.
and I'm like already creeped out about his 69th birthday. Like
Just
I
because
have
of the number?
yes, because I'm like I can just see like somebody in my family be like, oh, Phil's 69 this year.
A bunch of 69 balloons all over the house.
I'm dying. You'd be like, blow out your candles. I said candles. It's gonna be the worst.
You should just skip the whole year, just not.
I
Say
think it'd just be like, you know what? You're 68, then you're 70.
I
There's
thought
no
if
69th birthday in anybody's life. It's too gross.
it's like the 13th floor of a hotel.
Yes, it is. It's like the 13th floor of a hotel. There's no 69th birthday because it's too gross. I can't.
I thought of you today because I was on the airplane. We always talk about how we're so immature, or maybe everybody giggles at this stuff. I don't know. But when the pilot comes on and says the weather in LA, and he's like, it's 69 degrees. And I was like, and then in my head, I'm like, I'm so immature.
The number has been tarnished, though. The number has been tarnished. We need to like rename 69ing. Like, why
Yeah.
can't we just call it like Yin Yang Bing Bang or something? I don't know. Like, we need to like
I
rename
do like
it.
yin yang bing bang.
I know. The number 69 is going to pop up in life, and it's making us giggle now, and it's going to creep us out when our parents turn 69. It's just like we need to rename the 69. Nobody even likes
so
69ing anyways. It's annoying. I can't
Yeah.
focus on giving when I'm trying to get. I need to like relax to receive, and I need to focus to give. I can't do both at the same time.
I think that's the final test to test if your partner is selfish or not.
Oh yeah, I know.
Their reaction during it, and you're just like, "Oh, really? Okay." You're like taking notes on the side. All right, cool.
Yeah, you can't enjoy yourself when you're working.
You can't. It doesn't work. 69. It doesn't work. Nope.
That's why I never really understood. Well, maybe this isn't similar, but I would work with some bartenders who would be drinking like while they're working. I get it sometimes, but then I would always just be like, I can't enjoy myself. I'm working.
Then you can't care, but you stop caring. I think that's the problem with drinking and working, where it's like you're gonna like, okay, so at first it's fun for like a little bit,
Like maybe one drink,
and then you're like, Yeah, so it's maybe fun for like one or two, like whatever. But then you stop caring, and then you're like, "Oh, can I get cut?" And then you've already
Sounds like
got
you've done this before.
the buzz. Oh, better believe I have. And then the buzz is like, "Okay, now I want to keep drinking." So then you get yourself cut earlier, and then you take the puny amount of money that you did make, and you spend it all because you have to go out drinking now because you've already started drinking, as opposed to being that person that like volunteers to close and like makes all the money.
Vicious circle.
Yeah.
Cycle.
My
What's the
favorite
right word?
My favorite time. I went to Big Sky this year, so in Billings, Montana.
You went to Big Sky?
Yeah, I
I've
was there
been
this year.
dying to get in that festival.
Really? Well, I went as like kind of industry.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I was like hosting live podcasts
Was
in
it
this
as
like
fun
restaurant.
as they say? That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it was super dope. But I went to this bar and the bartender was already like hammered, like she was completely hammered. And the good thing about me is I'm attractive in Billings, Montana. So she was all about it, and she double pouring everything and like trying to get me messed up all on the house. She was like, "Let me buy you your first
Well,
couple
that's
drinks."
when it benefits you.
I
yeah.
mean, I don't mind it when I have a bartender that's drinking.
I don't care.
I'm like, oh yeah, part of the party. I do kind of like it.
I'm not judgmental about it. I was just saying it just for me, it wasn't fun to mix.
For me, it
Work
was just
with.
like only led to not making money, wanting to go home earlier or get off earlier, and then losing what could have been a
You
lucrative
know what
night.
was even more confusing was when waiters would drink, because I'm like, that's really work. Like you're
yeah.
carrying plates, you're
I
bussing
know.
tables.
It's very
Like,
true.
ugh.
Well, sometimes
Those
you
are
get-
always the people that are just sweating a lot because they're like starting to detox in the middle of their shift. Like,
the next day. Everybody in Toronto would like get wasted on Thursday night, right? So then that Friday lunch shift was always like that shift where
waiters
you-
sweating.
Oh, waiters sweating off the booze hardcore. Like so, you could smell it, you know?
Everyone's got pits.
Yeah.
I don't get how people do that like in LA. Like I just don't get nightlife in LA, I think. Because like I've been going out in LA, it's like $13 drinks and like everything's so ridiculous out here.
Expensive.
I don't even buy $13 bottles of wine. So, yeah.
I want to get to a point where we could just have a full relationship just through the phone. Just never meet the person. I was like, just full dating, sexting, everything. I was like, and then good. I was like, you handle your own.
I feel like we're already there. I feel like we're turning into a hermity culture right now.
Yeah, you can start a whole relationship just on the phone.
You can. It's like when you go on dating apps now, you barely meet any of those people. They all turn into these weird online pen pals. It's like, it's very rare you actually go. I get so excited when I go out on an online date because I'm like, oh my God, we actually left the house. Like we got out and we met. So then I don't even care really if it's good or bad. I'm just like, hey, I'm glad I got to try out a new restaurant or bar. Or
I do
whatever.
think it'd be very difficult to be a man dating because you do feel the pressure that you're supposed to pay, and it's like that can get really expensive.
And LA is full of broke men, so it is. I feel
I'm
bad
raising
for
my
them.
hand. I'm just like,
no, but that would be hard to feel that pressure and
it's yeah. I had I pay for everything, even with my booty call. I pay for everything.
Oh, really? See,
Yeah.
I actually don't like if a guy buys me a drink. Like, remember, I'll buy him one back.
I think if it's your first date, yeah, you should split, kind of.
Yeah, go Dutch. Who cares? I used to have boyfriends I went Dutch with. I don't care.
But
I
that's
never cared.
But that's if your date is at because you went to like a bar, dive bar. But if you're taking a girl to a restaurant, that's a different story, like a fancy restaurant.
But I still wouldn't care. Like, I don't know.
I'm more the dive bar type than the fancy restaurant.
Me too. Especially on a first date, I would, But I don't mind paying. I never have. Like even.
Really?
When I was in my early 20s, like I remember first coming down to LA like years ago, like 17 years ago. And one of my friends went out with one of my Canadian guy friends. And this was a girl that was from like Arkansas or something. And so she goes out, my friend from Canada. And I was like so charmed. I was like, oh my God, how was your date with Lee? And she goes, he didn't pay. And I was like, so? And she goes, Christina, the guy is supposed to pay. And I was like,
I think that's the mentality of most.
I don't think I had that engraved in my brain as like a girl from Ottawa, Ontario in 2003. I was like, I thought that was old fashioned from when women couldn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. How
So-
ironic that going Dutch is a Canadian thing.
I know.
It's so true.
I never made guys pay for me. I was just like, I don't know.
I've paid.
It feels
for,
dirty.
You're going to
Well,
get
then
a lot of dates off this podcast.
All right.
Yeah, I'll pay for half.
I swear to God, I think it's on my Hinge profile where I'm like, hey man, equality, I'll buy you a drink or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, but I seriously feel like that. Like, A, I want to be independent. I don't want to sponge off a man for the rest of my life anyways. That's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I don't like I can't help it. I know we don't have to feel like this, but I do feel like I owe a guy something when he spends a specific amount of money on me. Like I feel guilty. Then I feel guilty. I don't want to feel guilty. I'd rather just like pay my own way, or you buy me a drink, I buy you a drink. And then if I don't feel like fucking you, I can just go home.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like irritated with me.
Yeah.
It was in a bunk night. I had a night a couple weeks ago where like I only had like $200 in my bank account, and I went and I managed to spend $197 like at the bar. Like I planned it out like perfectly.
It's like a game of The Price is Right. You'd win.
Where did you go
trust
that
me.
you're spending that much money?
You could win both showcases with that kind of.
Yeah, I was somewhere on Santa Monica Boulevard at all the gay bars. Like that's where we go. That's her move. She's like, let's go to the gay bars. I'm like, all right.
They are really fun. It's
So-
always my favorite music.
It was a trip. I got
Kim Petras for the win.
I got gay validated when I was there.
Good. Yeah.
Somebody hit on you?
No, it's not necessarily, but like where they mistake you for a couple, and then she was like, "What, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, you guys are both attractive. Like, of course you guys would be together." And like after that, it was like the gay,
Nice.
the validation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Plus, I was definitely getting. So Thomas Dale, you guys know Thomas?
Yeah, he's great.
He's been calling me Little Bear because I produce his show, so he always calls me Little Bear. He's like
He's
Little
so
Bear.
funny.
He's the best.
So cute.
Yeah, but the next day, so I was like really hungover, and I was like, I drive Lyft on the side too for money because the studio.
Dude, always go out and make money. Don't be shy
Oh,
about
yeah.
that. There's no shame in that.
So I made like $90, and then I got the call that night, like, "Hey, let's go out again." And I just spent like that $90, like exactly. I'm good at that.
That's how I was as a server, though. It was very much like cash in my pocket, then cash out of my pocket.
Yeah, it's so dumb, but I definitely feel the pressure. Like I feel like that's and then you see comics.
But you also be careful about spending that much money on somebody who's not.
Oh, who you're not dating? It's not a serious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's a private. But then I see a lot of comics that they come like male comics that they have a girl like drive them, pay for everything. I was like, where do I sign up for that list? I was like, that's where I'm looking for.
I can't. It like literally, I feel guilty. It's just like the kind of person I can't. I feel bad. I feel bad. Like I feel like I say I feel bad all the time.
Yeah,
I feel bad. I can't do anything. I don't know.
Which
If
is
somebody
good.
makes like a lot of money and they want to take you out, but I mean, I'm talking about
Maybe-
somebody I know, like
Maybe that should
a
be
guy that I know, but not like a stranger. I
Right.
wouldn't want a stranger buying
Well,
me drinks.
Maybe that should be the deal then. Like, let's just like make a nice, wholesome agreement. Like, let's say whoever makes more money gets to pay. I'd be like, okay, I'll be fine with that. So if you make more money than me, I don't mind you paying. Like, if I'm not burdening your finances. Finances. I said that funny. We have been drinking. Okay.
We are a bottle of wine down.
Yeah. And it's free. And I feel like Paul provided it. And now I feel like I owe you something.
You did pay me back by me drinking all your spit from the, the bottom of the bottle when it was done.
We left some backwash for him.
Yeah, I got all the backwash. That's payment enough.
Turns out I owe you a lot. Oh, great. Well, I already forgot what I was going to say. Apparently,
You were talking about your finances.
my finances.
That's
right. Finances.
That's why you thought it sounded weird, because that's the way you said it. You go, his finances.
Finances. Finances. Yeah, I feel like, why don't we just say, like, whoever makes more money pays? So if the guy makes more money, you get to pay. If I make more money, I get to pay. I feel like that's fair, right? I don't want anybody breaking the bank to hang out with me, but also I don't want to sit at home anymore, like alone doing nothing. Like I'd rather go out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like go and try a new restaurant, and I don't give a shit if I have to pay. As you know, I don't know. I don't care. I just want to get out of my house.
Yeah. So I have this question too, because obviously I've only been doing stand-up like 3 years or something like that. But my rule was always like, don't date comics, because I knew it would get really like, especially in the community that I'm in.
Because you know that they're all broke. Or
Not just that, but I know that they talk.
No, but if it doesn't go well, then you have to see him again.
Yeah, and then your
but
business
comics
can be
are
out
like
there.
we are a broke breed of people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make dating doesn't make financial sense. So maybe that's why we really shouldn't date comics.
Yeah.
Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
my
It's
thing
like-
was, I used to do it, and then I remember when something went bad, and then I was on a show with them, and then I was on stage thinking that they were there, and it's like messing with my comedy, and I was like, oh, this isn't good. Now it's messing with my
sometimes I do
stage presence.
I do feel weird when I perform in front of somebody that I've slept with, because then I'm like, oh man. If
Yeah,
I
you
bomb
just
in
feel
front of him, then he's gonna be like, "Oh man, I fucked that girl." But
I hate feeling self-conscious on stage, and that's what happens.
I know.
I hate that feeling.
Whenever I'm, there's that one comic that sometimes I fool around with, And whenever I work with him, I'm just like, you should go now. You should like go to the bathroom during my set. Or he's like, why are you always so shy to work? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to bomb in front of you.
I feel like I never do as well when I'm self-conscious.
Yeah. It's like, just like,
But then again, it's hard not to want to date a comic because they're fun and you're around them and they get the lifestyle. It can be hard to date somebody with a normal 9 to 5 job because your hours are so
it's
very
the same.
whacked out.
Yeah, if you're coming home and sleeping at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
That was another thing. Well, like this girl kept waking up at like 7 in the morning. I'm just like, I can't wake up at 7 in the morning.
That's not good.
I was like, noon maybe? I need a PM. I was like, can we set the alarm for a PM? That'd be great. So this is another, I remember a story that you told, Jen, about a certain guy that you were hooking up with that played his set during.
Oh,
that's horrible. Who
If we
did
could
that?
talk about that. I want to hear that story again.
wait, this came up on the John Hook podcast, didn't
I
it?
think it did.
Where
Don't tell them we're reusing stories.
no, I was just like, wait, how come I felt like I talked about this with someone? No, it's okay. No,
His name was John Huck. No,
it wasn't John Huck. This guy invited me over, and then they're like, I think we had already hooked up a little bit, but then I was at his house, and he was like, first he was sitting on a chair in front of his computer, and he's like, come here, and he asked me to like sit on his lap, which already is like, I sat on his lap, and I was like, this is kind of awkward. Like,
was
we're
this,
two
like,
grown adults that I'm sitting on your lap.
Was this like first day? Like, obviously it was a hookup, right? It wasn't like a date or anything.
No, it was just like, he said that we should get together to write jokes.
That is every comic's thing of like, hey, that's like the booty call question. It's like, hey, we should write sometime.
Oh, is that it, eh?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Damn, I thought people really liked my writing.
I feel bad, though, because I did say it to a female comic once, but I meant it literally like we should write. But I look like a fuckboy.
I know. Wait, come to think of it, I feel like more female comics asked me to write.
They're just trying to get their stories mentioned on Jillin Off.
No, so he had me
Sounds
sit
like some people
on
want to
his
go chilling with
lap,
me.
and then he pulled up his late night set that he did, and he turned, he's like, no, I don't think you know him. I can barely remember his name, actually, to tell you the truth.
And his name was Dave Chappelle.
It's like 10 years ago. So me and Dave Attell were hanging. I wish.
He's like, come here, sit down. It's like, wow.
What do you think? Oh, that's Ian back. I can't get the Dave Attell back. No, so we sat down, and then he turned on his late night set. And then afterward, I was like, oh, it was really good. It was awesome. And then he's like, so that turned you on? And I was like he totally thought that me watching his late night, but the look on his face is like, so that turned you on. This same guy, I forgot this until now. That same guy, before we had ever hooked up, when we went to write, he gave me a ride home. And when we pulled up to my house, and then he just looked at me and he like started undoing his pants. He goes, you want to jerk me off?
Oh.
And I was just like, what? No, in the car. But for a while, I used to tell a joke about it. But sometimes you love telling something, but it never really gets like the biggest laugh that you want.
Yeah.
But I want to be like, why did you just shoot for the bottom? Like, don't you know that girls do stuff out of guilt? Like, if you would have been like, hey, can I fuck you in the back seat? Then I might have been like,
Oh, that's so true.
no, but I guess I'll jerk you off.
Then I'll just jerk you off. You're right.
But he just went for like straight to the jerk, and I was like, dude.
Oh my God.
How low
Did
is
he
that on
really
the
think
list?
that I was just going to look at him and be like, no?
That joke should be fucking killing. That's a good
Sometimes
bit.
it works. I don't think I only tried it a few times. And
But you're right. They need to shoot for like something out of control, like we're not going to do, and then they're going to get the jerk off. They're going to get the hand job.
Yeah.
But yeah, when some guy's just like, hey, you want to jerk me off? It's just like how small is your ego that you need this moment? Like, that's got to be like an ego situation.
Plus,
Or
it's
just
like the jerk off thing is a really weird thing to ask for because, like, a blowjob, something else makes sense. But jerking off, pretty much every guy is so much better at it than us. Like, I know you probably want a stranger, not stranger, but a female to do it.
I sometimes walk around Koreatown with it out, dropping hints. Like,
I understand it probably feels better for, somebody else to, just for, but you guys are way better at it than we're going to be.
yeah, which is hilarious.
Which is not the same with like blowjobs, or you know what I mean? Those are things
Yeah.
that
It would be worrying if all of us guys were better at blowjobs. And we're like, this is how you do it.
you probably are. You just don't try it. You just don't know.
I don't even know that I can finger myself anymore. I have to use a vibrator. I'm very lazy. I'm not lazy. I just feel like the vibrator is so efficient. I wouldn't waste my time with my fingers. But somebody else's fingers might work.
Mm-hmm. You don't think that ruins dick?
Not at
Vibrator.
all. Oh no, it's still so much more exciting with somebody else.
Yeah.
Don't you guys think the same thing?
Yeah. My thing is sexting. Like that's what I was like super into for a long time.
You like sexting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was like not a game or anything. Nowadays everything sounds creepy. You can't convince anybody.
That's the thing.
But-
it has to happen like further along in you guys knowing each other where the sexting's not creepy.
Is it
Sometimes
mostly
it's too out of
just
the blue.
words or is it pictures?
I don't think girls want pictures. Like that doesn't sound like anything. So
Quite probably true based on what me and Jen were just talking about on the subway on the way here.
Yeah, because this guy sent me like a dick pic, but and I told Christina, all I could notice was that there was a bunch of pubic hair coming up.
So
Like,
wasn't it
and I wrote back, I go, do you need a razor?
So it wasn't a dick pic, it was a pube pic.
or just one long pube.
But the reason I was curious is because I don't engage in that very often at all. It's happened once. But I was curious when somebody, isn't it difficult? So are you actually jerking off while you're doing, because isn't it hard to type
Yeah.
while you're,
Yeah.
that's what I was confused about. I'm like, how is he still typing? And like,
You know what I hate though? The worst thing is delayed responses. That's
well,
the
that's
worst thing.
probably because they're doing something, hopefully, if it's working.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like 15 minutes later. Like
Oh, yeah, they're eating a snack.
blah. Yeah. I was like, I'm a different man now. I already finished. I was like, I'm not.
Okay, but
in
wait. So
Or when your dick pic bombs, you're like, oh no, I sent my dick pic and she never wrote back. I got nothing.
it. See, my room
But
is filled with
are
miniature
you-
furniture.
typing, are you typing while you're actually doing like playing with yourself?
Yeah, like one-handed.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do like I do
Just
the
seems
one-handed
like
text.
a lot of like motion.
You guys
seems
want
like,
to touch my phone?
Seems like
Not anymore.
it seems like more work than the 69.
I think
You know what I mean?
it's like and this is so funny, and I've been telling this as a joke like lately, but the first time I ever said it was completely serious. I was like, one of my greatest sexual like accomplishments was like, I made a poet come with my words, which sounds so like.
But also, if you do certain things with your right hand, like I'm better at texting with the right hand, and I would also use that for the other. So that means you even have to use your weaker hand on one of the two things.
Probably for texting.
That's hard.
I got it down. I'm a millennial.
Or you're bidextrous. What's the word when you can use both? Ambidextrous.
Butt dexterous. I use my feet while I'm going at it. I have it mounted.
Or I guess you could be talking to text.
Oh yeah.
Talk to text.
You can
Talk
enable
text.
dictation, right?
But then that sounds like, because you don't want anybody walking
I
by
just
your
really
door to
want-
hear that.
like, I am so hard right now. Like, oh, I don't know.
Check your spelling.
They'd be like, oh no, there's some weird typo in it. I am so harbor right now. What's harbor mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more of like an accomplishment thing though. If it's like it's almost like, okay, cool, on to the next one. But I have a joke in my act where I say millennials are so lazy. I was like, even our pussy's digital. I was like, we don't care. We'll stay in the room. Like, that's fine. I don't know. That was always like my thing. So like, I'll do that.
I like it when I go the other way where I start to get really vanilla because I think, oh, maybe this guy doesn't want another girl. It's just sending pictures of like her boobs or whatever. So this one time, and I actually kind of liked this guy. I thought he was really fun. And then I sent him a picture of like this chicken dinner I made. It was like, I sound so dumb.
And did he?
But he did. It was like, I thought I really nailed the chicken and like I had like good potatoes and vegetables. So I was like, maybe he'll be charmed by this. Like, so I'm going to cook a dinner. He never wrote back.
I have somebody in San Jose
spinning.
that I can hook you up with if you like food pics.
That's right. Turns out he
Was he a chubby guy? I feel like he'd have to be a chubby guy. That's what you'd have to be
He
texting.
was just really
a little
young
bit. I know.
and not very smart.
I don't know. I just thought maybe if I went in a different direction, maybe he'd be like, oh, that's cute. She can cook. And nope.
I like if
Never
somebody, I mean, like again, it doesn't happen very often, maybe 3 times in the last 17 years. When were cell phones invented? I like when somebody.
Jen had a backpack with a battery.
I like if somebody asks for like send me a picture of your boobs or something. I love to go on Google and just get like the biggest porn star with huge boobs.
Always do
and be like,
that.
sure, here you go.
I go on Pornhub, I take a screen grab, and then I edit it down to just the boobs, and you can't see the face, and I just send those.
Oh, I just send the
I do
whole
that-
face.
I've done that before for sure.
That looks nothing like me.
I never sell the face. I only just like I take the body and then I like crop it, and then so it looks like it could actually be my body.
It's like all my dick pics are like black eyes.
Wait, so you're actually making it
Look, yeah.
Look like you?
Oh, yeah, because I just cut out the head.
That is hilarious.
But honestly, if anybody had ever seen me naked, they would know that's not me.
Yeah.
But who cares?
You're like a magician.
Exactly.
It's the magic of it.
There's just
Then he really sleeps with me, and he was like, "Whoa, where are the boobs that were in that picture that you texted me?"
It's all an illusion. It was only for the show.
It's different.
you just start crying. I didn't tell you about my accident.
I had to get a reduction. My back was hurting.
So what's your guys' biggest horror story, like dating a comic?
Oh dear. Oh, I thought you said horror story. I was like,
No,
whoa.
no.
I'm gonna need some shots of tequila for this. Oh
no.
I thought you said, so you guys, what's your biggest horror story? And I was like, oh my God.
I feel like my biggest horror story of dating a comic, I could not even tell on the air because it's so fucking such a nightmare. But I would say one that I could share would be, so when I first moved to LA the first time.
She looked around like he might be here. She
know.
just turned her head both ways like,
Where?
Scared.
This is like Comics Haven. They just pop out of the woodwork here.
Yikes.
It's comics and roaches. Just out.
I can tell you another. I got good, but not only bad stories. They have good stories about dating comics. I have some good ones. But I remember when I first moved to LA the first time when I was like illegal and young and dumb. I remember like doing a little showcase night at the Laugh Factory, and I thought this guy booked me to do his show at like Farfalla or something. That's how old this story is. Like somewhere in La Brea. Do you remember that place?
Farfalla.
I think it turned into Room 5 after
Yes,
that.
I loved Room 5.
Yeah. So that room. Anyway, so he was like, here's my number. I want to book you for my show. And I was like, awesome. So then I called him because I was like, legitimately, I was bored. I was like new to LA. I didn't have any friends. I called him. I was like, hey, do you want to like grab a drink? And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I totally do. I was like, great, let's go. He's like, I'm doing Miyagi's tonight. So we go to Miyagi's. Again, these are really dated references.
Yeah, that was a big one.
I got Dublin stories if you want.
Shout out Jay Davis.
Oh, better believe I love Dublins. And I have, it was magical. So anyways, go to Miyagi's. We hang out a bunch. I thought he was really funny. I thought he was a fun person to hang out with. And then he like wanted to take me to Mexico, but we were, I know it like, anyways, it wasn't
You
romantic.
went from Miyagi's to Mexico? It's excelled really quick.
It did excel quite quick. But anyways, and then I finally had to like put my foot down because I was like new to LA, and I was like, so I have to be honest, like I don't want a boyfriend. I was like, I'm so new to LA. I was like, I really need friends. I'm like, I don't want a boyfriend. I need friends. And he goes, well, I already have enough friends that complain that I don't spend enough time with them. So I don't have time for another friend. I would make time for a girlfriend, but I don't have time for any more friends.
Who is this?
And then, bam, done. That was that. That was my first male comic interaction in LA in like 2002.
You can't tell us his name.
No, but he was really funny. I'll tell you off the air, obviously. I don't even, it's a name I don't really hear anymore either. And I thought he was so funny.
Did you ever get booked in that room again?
Was it Adam Richmond?
How bad do you, sorry, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not.
Do I need to make an edit?
I'm not making this. No.
I'll tell you what, I don't think it's a horror story, but it was probably one of the weirder stories. I feel like all my weirdness happens in cars.
Oh, yeah, I've had some weird moments in cars. With
Like I had my own
comics.
studio. I don't know why nobody ever wanted to come in it. They always just wanted me to do stuff in cars. This guy
Comedians in cars
Ask
having
me-
sex.
Oh, yeah. Like the time I asked a comic what gout was, and he had the stories for 2 hours. That was a long road trip. That was a road gig I don't need to redo again. But good news is I learned what gout is.
because he had it.
Yes.
Ooh. Was he able to drive or were his feet like? Did he have stubs?
It was a little light on the brake, wasn't he?
Oh my god!
Forget about it. Anyways, let's move on.
I was in the car with a comic once and we were hooking up, and then he like kind of started jerking off.
Oh my god!
And then he goes, "Let me just preface this by saying he was very skinny, so there was no extra fat." And he was like, "I need you to suck on my nipples." I was like, I'm sorry, what? I had never got that request. Like it seemed like that's the way. We all have certain things to make you come. A little squeeze. The nipples work for me. I didn't know that worked for guys.
Yeah, I think that's more of a girl thing.
Yeah. But so he like took off his shirt, but he was like, when I say skinny, I mean like I was like putting my mouth to it, but I couldn't get any extra skin. Like there was nothing to suck. So I was just
Like sucking on a wall.
I was just like trying to get something like, and I was like, you know, when you're in a situation where you're laughing in your head and you can't laugh out loud.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I have to suck his nipples right now in this Escalade. Nice car, by the way.
You need a nice car if that's what you're into. That's a prereq.
I feel like you have to call the name of this episode, like, sorry, we can't use names, like, or something alluding to the fact that we cannot. We've told all these stories about these comics, and every listener will be like, "Who was that? Who was that? Who was that? Who was that?" I'm gonna text you.
I'm gonna tease. That would be the past 50 episodes. They were one of the guests. So go figure it out. We're almost done. We're almost done with the show.
Holy shit, that went fast.
This is your show update. That happens in the middle of the show. But I have a few quick fire questions. These are meant to be like short answer questions. But whatever.
Is this what having an organized podcast sounds like?
Kind
You're
of.
gonna say orgasm.
Jillin Off,
Hey, we're
the
still-
orgasm podcast.
We're still getting ourselves. We're still getting ourselves.
Well, you know what? We're
going.
just chilling, We're just chilling.
Yeah, Jillin is unorganized.
Netflix and chilling. That's all. Yeah, we're just flowing.
This
You
has
don't
been my
plan
first
your
time.
Jillin. It just comes up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes you're on a bus. Sometimes
Dude,
plane.
sometimes it's so bumpy on a bus you could chill. Like the seat practically chills for you. You know those times.
As a guy, I don't. So, all right. So, if you guys could do now, the questions are so clean now.
No.
Not for long. We'll find a way to turn that around.
All right, I'm gonna change this question. If you could sext one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Definitely not the comic with gout.
What if that was a shtick? It's like Jeff Dunham has puppets, and this comic has gout.
What if somebody told him like, oh, you got to get girls to feel sorry for you,
Oh my God.
and then they put out. So he decided he'd try the gout. I'm gonna tell her I have gout. If you that I could sext with.
Murphy Bed Mike.
All right, we'll go
Murphy Bed Mike for me, for sure.
We'll go back to the original question. So, if you could have coffee with anybody,
Gallagher.
for sex or coffee?
He's got all those props. He'd be like, I'm fucking a watermelon.
He'll show you his sledgehammer.
I don't know.
Oh, that was cheesy. So if you,
Murphy Bed Mike. Remember, I think we talked about this on our podcast and not your podcast, but
You want to sext with Murphy Bed Mike?
no, I thought we were going back to coffee now.
you could get coffee.
Oh, now we're having coffee.
I want to meet. I have a weird obsession. Guys, listen, I have a weird obsession with a man that installs Murphy beds, and he lives in New Jersey. I follow his Instagram. He's Murphy Bed Mike, but you know what? He seems like a really nice, charming man that installs Murphy beds. I would like to have coffee with Murphy Bed Mike.
Okay.
We're gonna fly him out. What smell reminds you of home?
Rain.
Top ramen.
I'm from Vancouver. I could.
Top
The
ramen.
ramen would probably work for Vancouver as well, actually.
Do you know there's certain moments in your adulthood when you're like, oh, maybe my parents didn't have a lot of money. I was at Ralph's. Top ramen is 35 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I ate every day as a kid. And that was like 40 years ago. So that means it was like 2 cents.
Oh, yeah. That's what I ate in like.
No wonder I'm on
university.
high blood pressure medication now. Have you seen the sodium count
Oh,
now?
I know.
Your blood is just
It's like your
sodium.
whole salt intake for that.
Seriously, though, if you're on a budget, it's 35 cents.
Shout
you
out.
can't get anything for 35 cents.
It will fill you up. There's so much salt.
It's a meal. It's add a little ketchup, you got spaghetti.
Yeah.
Christina's like, yeah. Add a little mayonnaise, you got
no.
Alfredo.
Oh, shit.
Christina sent.
Sweating?
Christina sent a picture of a wonderful chicken dinner she made. Jen's just sending a picture of top ramen with spaghetti.
I'm trying to work on a high frequency here, guys.
All
Turns
right.
out guys don't care about high frequency.
I'm not saying you'll ever need that because you are working on
But
high
you know
frequency.
what?
I just want you
do
to know
like
the
ramen.
options are out there.
Sometimes a good ramen dish is delicious, though.
I'm saying that for the
Salty noodle
listeners,
goodness.
not necessarily for you. You're a high roller.
With spaghetti. With ketchup. All right, and I have one final question.
You don't even have to buy the ketchup. You just get those free little packets of ketchup from 7-Eleven when you buy your coffee.
She's slick. I like it.
I just like that they never ask you the question, why are you getting ketchup with your coffee?
Like, well, why do you have so many pockets every time you come here?
All right.
Because she's Jillin. I love it. Oh my God, we should get some cargo pants. Pockets everywhere. Where are your hands? Don't worry about it.
Just have false hands coming up. All right, the final question. If you could give barely starting out you in comedy a piece of advice.
Wait, sorry, say that again.
If you could give yourself, who was barely starting out in comedy,
Okay, that was the part I missed.
a piece of advice,
Okay.
what would it be?
Keep going. Just keep going. I feel like comedy, the only way you can learn it is by keep doing it.
She said, keep
I don't think that's-
going.
Keep doing it. Don't stop. Don't quit. Don't
Finances.
Finances.
quit. Finances.
Finances.
You have to keep going. Keep doing it.
Yeah, I would say just go out every single night. Just keep working. Yeah. Work every single night.
Comedy is something you have to figure out by yourself. Even like,
I would also say don't worry about other comics.
I know.
I spent a lot of time like worrying what people think of it, but it's like, you can worry all the time about other people, but it's like the audience. You
Right.
You got to do what you want to do. Audience, make the audience laugh.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's true. Yeah. Focus on the relationship between you and the audience, and not you and the other comics. Just you're there.
And
to
also,
impress
don't
audiences.
worry. Do what you think is funny, and also don't worry too much about industry either.
Right.
Because I don't know if people know like Maria Bamford or something. It took her a long time, but she stuck to her guns of
my
being
God.
like,
I love her so much.
do you know how many people must have been like, you're a little weird? Because I've had some comedy bookers, I don't know, you're kind of weird or something.
So-
It's like, just stick with it, even if.
To bring it full circle and to bring it back to plugging Jen and my podcast, Jillin Off, succeeding in comedy is a lot like having an orgasm. It's going
Oh.
to take some people longer. Some people are going to fucking finish faster. Some people are going to need to do some weird things. Some people are going to do it really simply and easy.
I've never heard this before.
Just thought of it right now.
You just really surprised me.
I know, right? But I think that's what it is. I feel like there could be a solid analogy between succeeding in comedy and finally coming. Sorry.
And on that note, this has been the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast. I want to thank my guests, Jen Murphy, Christina Walkinshaw. What are you guys' social medias? Go ahead and plug away anything you guys need to plug. It comes out tomorrow.
At Jen Murphy Comedy.
I am at Walkinshaw across the board, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. And I'll be in Vegas this weekend opening for Puppetry of the Penis, and then in Seattle for Valentine's Day, headlining the Comedy Underground.
Yeah. And also check out their albums on Spotify. We checked before this to make sure.
Your album is called?
I've got two. One is Size Does Matter, and the other one is Orally Challenged.
Yes. And my solo album is called It's Taking a Long Time to Become Famous. Because it is. And it takes a long time for me to come to, though. So this will actually make sense. Not when I do it by myself, actually. Okay. And then I have another collaborative album called My Jokes Are Up Here with Rebecca Kohler and Erica Sigurdsson and Jen Grant.
Nice. Check those out on Spotify. This has been the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast. I've been your host, Paul Antonio. You can follow me